In this video, we'll show you how to replace the front brake hose on your Subaru Baja. This is located in the front of the vehicle and behind the wheel. Let's get started. With the vehicle raised and supported, we can go ahead and remove our lug nuts with a 19mm. If you can't remove the wheel, you can thread one lug nut back on about halfway. Then I'm going to use a dead blow hammer and strike the back side of the tire. Try not to hit the rim. And we can remove the wheel. To help hold the brake fluid from dripping out while I remove the caliper, I'm going to use this hood prop rod to hold the brake pedal down between the seat and the brake pedal. Before removing the banjo bolt from the caliper, it's good to put a receptacle to catch any fluid that may leak out under the vehicle. We can remove the banjo bolt with a 12mm. We can remove the 12mm bolt, holding the brake hose to the strut. I'll use a set of pliers to pull out the clip. I'm going to use a 10mm line wrench to go ahead and loosen up the fitting, holding the brake hose to the brake line. You can certainly use a regular 10mm wrench, but it helps to have a line wrench. In some cases, the fitting will get stuck to the hard line. In that case, you can grab the top of the hose and twist, as you maybe use a set of pliers. You could also use a set of locking pliers if you need, to spin the hose off of the hard line. In our case, the fitting is stuck and will only turn back and forth a little bit. That's okay. We can thread the hose on and then use the fitting to tighten it down in the hose. So what you can do is hold the fitting with your flare nut wrench, and then we can tighten down the hose. There's two flat spots on the fitting that goes into the bracket on the chassis. You can line those up, and that'll hold the hose still while you tighten down the fitting. And start getting the shim into place. And then we'll just tap it in using a hammer. Now that the shim is holding the hose in place, we can go ahead and snug down the fitting. You can line the bracket in the middle of the hose up with the bracket on the strut. We can just snug this down. We can go ahead and remove the banjo bolt from the back of the caliper. Make sure both copper washers come off with it. We can leave one copper washer on the bolt, install that into the hose, and get the other copper washer on. We can snug that down. And we can torque this to 13 foot-pounds. Don't forget to remove your brake pedal depressor. Now we can pull the bleeder screw cap off and loosen up the bleeder screw. We'll give that a couple of turns and we'll let that gravity bleed. You want to wait until you see drips of fluid coming out of here, and then we can tighten it back down. We can close off the bleeder screw and reinstall the bleeder screw cap. We'll go ahead and remove the cap. Make sure you top off the reservoir. And don't forget to replace your cap. Line up the lug studs with the holes in the wheel. I like to get the first lug nut threaded all the way in, and that'll hold the wheel on while I get the rest of the lug nuts threaded on. We can snug these down. Now we can torque these to 80 foot-pounds in a star pattern. We'll use our brake parts cleaner and clean around the cap. We don't want any dirt or debris falling into our reservoir. We'll go ahead and remove the cap. If you have a filter inside, you'll want to remove that now. Now I'll use a fluid extractor to remove as much fluid from the reservoir as we can. It's good to have a receptacle to catch any of the fluid. Now that we've extracted as much fluid as we can, we'll go ahead and top this off before bleeding our system. And don't forget to replace your cap. When bleeding our system, we need to do it according to the manufacturer's procedure order. We're going to start with the passenger's front, followed by the driver's rear, the driver's front, and then do the passenger rear. Starting at our first caliper, we can go ahead and remove the cap. I'll be using a 10mm brake line hose and some clear line so that we can see the air bubbles leaving the system. Now I'm going to have my assistant pump the brake pedal. My assistants let me know that they're holding the brake pedal. We can go ahead and loosen. Pedals at the floor, we can go ahead and tighten. We'll repeat this process until there's no more air bubbles in the line. Now that we have no more air bubbles coming out of our line, we can move on to the next caliper. Don't forget to reinstall the cap. We'll go ahead and remove our bleeder screw cap. For the rear calipers, we'll be using an 8mm. Get our hose on there, and we can have the assistant pump the brake pedal.
Holding.
Go ahead and release.
Floor.
Pump.
Holding. Floor.
Looks like we don't have any more air bubbles. We can go ahead and remove our hose and the wrench. And we can do the same on the other side. Don't forget to replace your cap. After you bleed each caliper, it's good to clean it down with some brake and parts cleaner. After bleeding the first two, make sure you top off the reservoir. And don't forget to replace your cap. Once all your calipers are bled, you want to make sure to fill the reservoir to the max line. Pump up the brake pedal and make sure it's nice and firm. If it's not, you might need to perform the procedure again. Make sure when you reinstall your wheels, you torque them to 80 foot-pounds. Take your vehicle for a road test. If the brake pedal feels firm, you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.